the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee.
Start your days with inspiring, heartwarming, and uplifting gospel music every weekday from 6 a.m.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
What is strategic management and what does it mean to businesses? Does your business have clear objectives and strategies? How is the business able to stand out against competitors? Learn all about strategic management and why it is important for businesses. Dr. Kellen Kimbati, a strategic management expert, enlightens you about various strategic management tips that you need for your business.
Hello viewers, my name is Dr. Kellen Kimbati from Karatina University, an expert in strategic management. Most business owners like to make wise decisions, but they are sometimes at a loss of where to begin, and this is where the role of strategic management comes into play. An important concept for business owners and managers entails themselves evaluating their business objectives and plans in light of efficiency and effectiveness. And this is what we'll be discussing on Biashara TV. Keep it here. Thank you.
Only on Biashara TV. Biashara TV, business at its best.
And we started off with a product called Cinderback. We have the junior one for class 1, 2, and 3, and we have one for the senior primary school, which is class 6, 7, and 8, which is a little bit more towards revision and exams, etc., which came out in 2009. We started off, first of all, from 7 and 8. Then as the demand grew, I think 2 years or 3 years later, we came up with the class 6. We started off with the class 1 product around 2 years ago. So just to give you a little bit of shed of light, innovation is something that we understand normally from our own lives, but not in the education space. Earlier on in my life, I had the chance to work in very innovative companies. I think some of the best innovative companies on the planet to date. And what you used to see is that if you look at your life, you have PCs that are innovative, you have phones that are innovative. Yeah? Just imagine life without innovation today. You'll have to maybe walk home. Yeah? Innovation has really changed our lives. If you look at today, M-Pesa has changed our lives. They used to transact before, and they transact today is completely different. Now, all this innovation has been very vague or not done on the education space. The education is to be delivered 50 years ago. In some schools, it's the same way it's being delivered today. Just think about innovation in the education space. Just think about what you can do if you're able to understand your child, what subjects they go wrong, how you can be able to improve their learning, being able to have analytics in the education space. I mean, that's like innovative. So I wouldn't say it was a gap at that point. It was more, it wasn't the industry. I mean, the industry was completely traditional. It was more looking at the other industries out there and see what innovation can do. And that started off with e-commerce. Yeah? Finance completely changed because of technology. If you look at everything else, transport, etc., changed. If you look at the way people communicate on the internet, we used to operate purely on read material. Now we're talking about education and being able to have information delivered to you in real time. So it's about comparing the rest of the segment and a place where it's completely virgin. So the company is called Virtual Lessons, which actually started around 4 years before. It was an ICT company. We used to do websites, selling of PCs, installation of servers, LAN, wide area network, and a system integrator. 4 years later, we developed a division within the company called a Virtual Learning Center, which eventually dropped. So it was a company that is doing 4 things, and the 5th one was a division doing e-learning. That the division was doing now the product called Singapore. Yeah. Now 3 years after that, we realized the education segment is way too big. We need to have all the resources geared exactly to focus on that area. So we dropped off everything else and decided on Singapore.
Virtual Essence introduced a refreshing new concept in the education sector in Kenya and developed an offering that has opened up the previously untapped markets.
The market was completely blank. One of the, I think, the biggest milestones or other obstacles at that time was the fact that no one understood what digital can mean in the education space. So we are not even selling our product. We are trying to convince people how can you transform the normal way you teach in a digital way. So teachers were the first one to say no, they don't even understand it, and they do want to feel like the children know a little bit more than they do, which is a little bit normal. Yeah, a lot of the teachers were not digitally literate. So we are having children coming up, they know how to play the tablets at home. When they come to school, they can play around with the software, but the teachers know we're coming from a completely different angle.
His firm developed Msingi Pack, a computer application that contained lessons and revision papers. The product aimed to avail digitized past papers on computers to pupils in classes 7 and 8.
I thought, okay, I think we need to start by having past papers available very, very quickly in one device, and we started off exactly like that, with past papers.
Msingi Pack sought to change the way Kenyan pupils revised for exams. Remembering his days in primary school, Washira says that he used to carry large, bulky files that contained past papers. Revising using such files was not only time-consuming, but also demotivating to pupils.
When I used to be in school, we used to carry these huge files. We used to call them file, just like that. So we put all the past papers that can be able to work out. How can you be able to convert this into a place where I can be able to sit, it marks for you, and it was, I think, an opportunity, not just for us, but for the market. And that's how we started.
While adoption of technology has gone up in the last decade, things were completely different 2 decades ago when accessing a computer was a big challenge. Today, children as young as 5 are able to use gadgets and devices. This has been accelerated by the government's move to introduce digitized learning in primary schools.
Look at it something, I mean, myself, I touched a computer the first time when I was 24 years old. Imagine kids today being able to touch computers and tablets in the education space when they are 6 years old, when they are 5 years old. I mean, that's transformative. And that's what we do. So our job is to try and convert the conventional learning into a digital space in order to understand more trends, how can you be able to benefit your children in a way that you understand better. So just bring innovation here.
As Michael and his partner discovered, there was latent demand for their products. 2 years ago, the firm started developing the Class 1 product. Michael says that technology is not magic. They have demonstrated that it can be used to transform the education sector. How do they do it?
So one of the things that we're looking about software. But software, to be honest, is not magic. Technology is not magic. Teachers are. So we need to look at, bring teachers who can be able to develop content which we convert to be able to be readable in a digital way. So we had engineers who are working on it, who are working on the application, etc. But on the other hand, we got something called the academic task force. We got a team of practicing teachers, and their job was to sit down and deliver content. So we went to the KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, which is the government arm. We got the whole curriculum on the primary schools. We got teachers to be able to have a look at it and develop content which is aligned to that. Today we have textbooks. That time we had textbooks, yeah, but we didn't have any kind of interactive content. So it was to look at it, they develop scripts that are able to be converted. Then we used our engineers in-house to be able to have that kind of conversion. And that's when we produced our first product in 2009.
At some point, Michael realized that he could move away from just digitizing papers. He focused on digitizing a curriculum for primary school pupils and interactive content that could help them learn and have fun.
That the division was doing now the product called Singpack. Yeah. Now 3 years after that, we realized the education segment is way too big. We need to have all the resources geared exactly to focus on that area. So we dropped off everything else and decided on Singpack.
Currently, the firm is working on virtual version 5.0, having started off with the version 1, which had lessons and activities that enabled children to learn better.
So as you can see, we have version 4.1. We're actually producing 5.0 in around 3 weeks' time. We started off with version 1, which only had class 8. We went on to produce version 2 that had class 6, 7, and 8, but only exams. We developed version 3 that had all the lessons and all the weekly activities to be able to enable children to be able to learn better. We developed version 4.0, which had more interactive. So it had games, kids could be able to drag and drop. It had multimedia with voice, etc., more interactive. Currently, we are going to produce version 5.0, which is going to cut across all the devices. Currently, we have one that you're installing on Android tablets, Android smartphones, any device that you have. The version 5.0 that is going to come out is going to be a cross-platform. Whether you have a Mac, an Apple tablet, an Android tablet, an Android smartphone, a PC, you're installing it anywhere you have.
The product, which primarily targets private primary schools, was well received in the market. With over 22,000 public primary schools in Kenya and a further 13,000 private primary schools, the Singpack product can easily reach every corner of the country. But there are impediments. Only 20% of private schools have some basic ICT structures. In public primary schools, a paltry 2% schools have ICT structures.
Our primary target, so the target is the education segment, yeah, so which is split into 3. So we have schools, we have parents, and we say parents, I mean parents and children, and we have teachers. So our initial products actually had a place for teachers, content for teachers, it had content for parents, and it had content for kids. Currently, we focus more on the content for children, but our target market primarily becomes schools. A lot of the schools have computer labs or laptops in the class, but they don't have value that children continue using in those devices. They learn Microsoft Word and Excel a little bit. Then they learn this is a mouse or this is a screen. But then after that, they don't have something that they can be able to use the education, let's say curriculum with the device. Yeah? So the first thing is to transform the school labs into value-added libraries, I would say. The second segment is the parents. So the schools at home, the children at home, they normally have devices that they play with. They play games and they learn from the internet. How can you be able to have value with those kind of devices? So we target parents to sell to their laptops and to install in their devices, in their tablets. So what you're seeing, first of all, we have around 22,000 public schools, around 13,000 private schools. If you look at these two, a lot of private schools have started having an ICT entry point from a few years ago, around 5 years ago. Around 20% of private schools will have some sort of ICT structure. Yeah? This number has increased for the last 3 years because of the whole government program, from around 20% to around 35% entry. Public schools, on the other hand, have been very, very low. I think we've got an ICT entry before the government at around maybe 2% or below, where very big public schools like Nairobi Primary, Kilimani already had an interest in ICT. But the majority of public schools do not have any understanding on anything like that. From the lab environment, but also the teachers didn't have an understanding on how they can be able to be literate enough in a digital way to be able to teach in that way.
Digitizing interactive content is not easy. In the education sector in Kenya, publishers compete to provide textbooks to schools, but few have original content. Msingi Park offers a different choice to schools in that the content provided is original.
So what we've seen in the market, first of all, we are coming from a background of very strong competition on a textbook kind of platform. So you have a lot of people who already print textbooks for coursework in schools. We had very few people in this market who had digital content which was original. So in the past we had a couple of people who got content from India.